Good afternoon, everyone. Please remain standing while the Mayor's Chaplain offers prayers. Thank you.
Let us pray. Lord, as we gather together today at this meeting, we ask that you will be in our midst. Help us to make decisions that will be pleasing to you. Help us to be able to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable way and to be willing to give up having our own way. God, let this meeting be productive and, as should be the case in all areas of our lives, help us to keep you at the forefront of our minds as we do the work set before us. Amen. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect the people in our communities, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Lord, the God of righteousness and truth, grant to all members of this council and all in positions of responsibility the guidance of your Spirit. May they never be motivated through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interests and prejudices, keep in mind their responsibility to seek to improve the conditions of all. So may your kingdom come and your name be hallowed. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Father, and thank you for this morning as well. Right, good afternoon, everyone. There are no plans for a fire alarm test, so if you hear the alarm, please leave the building by the nearest exit. Please can you ensure that your mobile phones are switched off or on silent. I think everybody knows where the restrooms are, and please note this meeting is being recorded and will eventually be loaded onto the council's YouTube channel. Can I please remind all members that whilst we can disagree politically, please remain respectful to each other whilst dealing with the council business. Because there's nobody here, do I? Now, members of the public, members and officers, you are reminded that under the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014, the press and public may film, audio record, photograph and use social media whilst the meeting is in progress for Part 8 items only, and as long as no disruption is caused to the meeting. Anyone filming is asked to focus their attention on elected members rather than other visitors. I've got a few announcements to make. So firstly, I'd like to say thank you to all those who attended the VJ ceremony on Saturday morning. I was honoured to attend as mayor, and it was especially poignant to be in the company of 3 World War II veterans. You may be aware that as part of the VJ celebrations, I've attended a number of ceremonies in other areas, and each one has been a real pleasure to be part of. I've also arranged, as part of one of my mayor's events, a Sunday lunch for Sunday 12th of October at 1 p.m. at the Cross Keys Inn, Church Lane, Whitechapel. Tickets are £27 for a lovely 3-course lunch and coffee. Please get in touch if you wish to come along and support my wonderful charities. In my opinion, it's never too early to mention the word Christmas. So advance notice that Carols in the Chamber, which as we know is a wonderful event, will be held on Wednesday the 17th of December at 6:30 p.m. So please make a note in your diaries. Also, one of my chosen charities, the Mary O'Gara Foundation, is having an annual Hope Walk on Thursday the 9th of October at 11:30 a.m. starting at the university. So please join me on this walk if you can. Now, depending on progress today, I may adjourn to take a short comfort break, but we'll see how we proceed. But before we do progress, okay, the Chief Executive is just asking me to juggle something around. Just hang on a second then, please. Are there any declarations of interest? Which is item 2. No, that's fine. Thank you. Item 3 is the minutes of the council meeting held on the 26th of June. Are members happy that I sign the minutes as a correct record? Yes, thank you. I'll sign them at the end. And question 4 is questions from the members of the public. So we have one submitted today from Mrs. Savannah Darble. Please can I remind you, Mrs. Darble, that once you've asked your question and it has been answered, you're entitled to ask a supplementary question as long as it relates to the original. Would you like to come over and ask your question, please? Thank you.
Councillor Brown, Hebron's mayor, Teza Abusneh, is a convicted terrorist who murdered 6 Jews in 1980 and wounded 16 others using automatic weapons and grenades. He has been invited to an online meeting with you and the steering group at a future date. Given this man's background, Jewish people in Preston have concerns that any dealings with him may radicalize individuals in the city. What specific consultations has Preston City Council conducted with anti-terrorist police, Prevent and the Home Office to reassure such concerns of Preston residents?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Stable, for your question. We've repeatedly said we're pursuing the friendship with Hebron in the spirit of peace and community cohesion, and the friendship is in support of the people of that city and the wider region. By doing this, we do not endorse any individual and continue to condemn violence and intolerance of any kind. We are informed 40 cities across the world currently have a relationship with Hebron. This includes Spain, France, UK, Italy and Greece in the European Union. And we've sought advice from the British Palestinian Friendship and Twinning Network in developing this agreement at every stage, because that is a process that we're required to go through. Obviously, twinning arrangements and friendship arrangements are generally civic arrangements, they're not political arrangements. And obviously, I've gone to my officers, obviously, and I've answered your question, and they've told me there's no intelligence to suggest there is a direct threat posed by any party in this friendship arrangement that is being pursued in the spirit of friendship and tolerance. I hope that offers some reassurance. Thank you.
Mrs. Dable, do you have a supplementary question? Could you ask that, please? Thank you.
Thank you. How can you distinguish yourself and your administration from the extremes of the far left and the far right if you yourself are seen to cultivate friendship of a convicted terrorist in the absence of any special proposals coming from him or you to find peace, either in the Middle East or, more importantly, here in Preston?
It's a matter of fact that the meeting has yet to take place. Obviously, there were a number of people that were invited. As I stated previously, we have been I've received hundreds of emails, messages, consultations, phone calls, and the rest of it for people who are really concerned about the situation of people in Palestine. And obviously, what we've done is we've done the most appropriate thing we feel in terms of a humanitarian response. And when we've done that, we've gone through the appropriate twinning organisation that is used across the country, and we follow their advice at every single stage. What I will say is Councillor Card and myself, we put out statements about how we have to tolerate, how we have to condemn all forms of racism and intolerance, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and we've engaged with community leaders on messages around that, because obviously we are aware that whenever there are tensions around conflicts, we need to do more to tackle racism and anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and every form of racism within our community. And I will say previously, we've actually put money as a Labour council into engaging with Show Racism the Red Card, the Heartstone project, Standing Together Against Racism, which has involved Jewish members of those organisations. We've gone into schools and we've actually, taught children about the evils of racism, all forms of racism, including anti-Semitism. So obviously what we're doing is we're following a process we've been advised to do, and our motivation is genuinely humanitarian and trying to find a way forward in a very difficult situation and respond to the, many requests we've had from the community on this issue. I hope that offers some reassurance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Mrs. Dable. You will receive an emailed response to your question in due course. That now concludes questions from members of the public today. Can I thank you for coming to the Town Hall and to using this facility? An officer will now escort you out. Before we progress, I just would like to bring in Councillor Henshaw, who has asked to make a brief personal statement. Councillor Henshaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, as you may have heard this week, I have resigned from the Labour Party. 6 months ago, I believe I was scapegoated and unfairly suspended over a malicious allegation of anti-Semitism. Anyone who knows me knows I don't have a racist bone in my body, but I was stripped of my roles and I've been left in limbo ever since. This took a massive toll on my mental health, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank those of you across the chamber who offered support. There are some excellent councillors across this chamber, and I have some lovely friends in the Preston Labour group. I believe they do some great work and have even greater aspirations for the city. I have no doubt I will be continuing to support them. Sadly, the same can't be said for the National Party. I believe it's lost its soul. It's treated me badly, it treats the people who voted for them badly, and even the Conservatives wouldn't abandon abolishing the winter fuel tax. By continuing Tory austerity, it continues to attack the vulnerable. Internationally, it continues to be complicit in genocide. And then prohibiting freedom to protest against genocide was also a nail in the coffin for me. I had intended to wait for my exoneration, but I cannot sit in silence any longer whilst being treated with such a lack of care and contempt by a party I worked really hard for. I will continue to work hard for my residents as one of Preston's independent councillors, and whilst continuing to work with the Labour City Centre team, I'm also looking forward to working with my independent colleagues in County Hall for the good of the people we all serve. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to address the council, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. We now move on to item 5, which is questions of Cabinet members, chairs of committees and representatives of outside bodies. Members are entitled to ask a question of any Cabinet member or chair of a committee within their portfolio or terms of reference, and one supplementary question may be asked provided it is relevant to the original question. We haven't received any written notifications of questions from members appointed to serve on outside bodies. If anyone has any questions to ask on the information items on the agenda, including the special urgency decisions, they should do so at this point, as another opportunity will not be given when we reach those items. Councillor Whittam, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope the leader will permit me to address my question to the Armed Forces Champion. Thank you. Will the Armed Forces Champion join me in thanking both the Veterans Association through Colonel David Walters, the military standard bearers, clergy and members of the council who organised the VGA Day events on Friday and Saturday. I think they were both excellent events. And can I extend my thanks also to Councillor Close for continued support as Armed Forces Member Champion.
Thank you very much for your question, and I absolutely would join you in thanking those who organised the events. If I don't fully answer your question because I haven't made any notes, just give me a shout and I'll follow up by email. 2025, as we know, has been and still is a really important year for this country because it was 80 years since the end of World War II. And in Preston, we wanted to make sure that that was marked properly. And I think what people may not realise is the planning for that started in January, with talking to our veterans and seeing how they wanted to commemorate, remember and celebrate this year. And interestingly, what they said was, we would rather have the bigger celebration for VJ Day in August than for VE Day in May. And that's because whilst the world, or particularly this country, was celebrating in May 80 years ago, lots of our serving personnel were still out there in Japan. They were in prisoner of war camps. They were still fighting. And so they felt very, very strongly that the bigger celebration should be for VJ Day. So from January right through up until last Saturday, there has been a lot of planning, and I absolutely join you in thanking those people that made it happen. So our World War II veterans, of which we have 5, and there were 3 there on Saturday. The youngest is 100 and the eldest is 103, which is why I absolutely could not say, no, I wouldn't be there, because when they turn up for everything, you know, you have to follow. So I'm really grateful to them, and I know that people really enjoyed talking to them. I'm really grateful to retired Colonel David Waters, who really does push and support. Our standard bearers, our bugler, they turn up suited and booted every single time for us. And I think we have to remember, we had the VE Day celebration in May, we had the Veterans event at the Met, and then we had the VJ Day celebration on Saturday. 90% of the people involved in that were volunteers. But also I thank our council officers who also got involved, because we asked them to go above and beyond by stretching it out for most of the year. So I think we have remembered, commemorated and celebrated this year really well, but we couldn't have done it without the volunteers. And I thank those who turned up on Saturday to join us. It's been a really special year, really special celebrations, and I think it's really shown us just how much people put into this city, and they're not paid officers, they're not paid elected members, they are volunteers doing it because they're passionate about it. So like you, I absolutely thank them for it as well.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Whittam?
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Close, for that excellent summary, and absolutely agree. And I think in Preston we are blessed with a wonderful arena with the Harris as a jewel in the crown, flag market, cenotaph. It was fantastic. Weather was brilliant. Having said all of that, do you as Armed Forces champion share my slight disappointment at the number of councillors that turn up to some of these events? As you've already pointed out, we had 3 veterans there with a combined age of 304. They were there, they'd been to the events the week before, they were there on the Friday, there on Saturday, completely indefatigable as far as I'm concerned. Brilliant individuals, they just want to talk to people. They're not really interested in all the medals, they just want to talk to people. Sadly, this is likely to be the last decade event that they attend because of their age. It's a fact of life. But civic events like VJ Day and VE Day, Armed Forces Day, and other events, such as the one we've just done this morning, for me, are part of the job description that goes with being a councillor. Now, it's very easy to complain from the sidelines, but the numbers of councillors...
Sorry, Councillor, have you got a question that you're asking the
councillor? Yes, sorry, the question is, having said all the above, does Councillor Close share my disappointment at the number of councillors that are turning up to some of these events? So the last part of this is, it's part of the job description. It transcends race, it transcends politics, and it transcends gender. And I think it behoves us to attend these events as councillors and representatives of what is a great city in Preston. Thank you.
Councillor Close to respond. Thank
Uh,
you.
Thank you. If I had my way, absolutely, I would have everybody turn up for everything. But rather than agree and say, I share your disappointment, what I would say is I would love every elected member to turn up for every civic event. But I also know that sometimes life gets in the way of people attending things. So, as you know, I always try and be kind. But if it was down to me, yes, I would ask everybody to attend.
Thank you, Councillor Close. Councillor Varty, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to the Cabinet Member for Art and Culture. Please, could you provide an update for the opening arrangements of the Harris Museum, please?
Thank you, Councillor Varty. Yes, I'm just share this. I'm very excited to share the opening arrangements for the Harris at the end of September. The public opening is on Sunday the 28th, where we'll be joined by the Mayor of Preston, Freeman of the City Knit Park, and competition winners from Preston to officially declare the Harris open. Entry to the public will be via free tickets to manage anticipated crowds, and tickets will be available from the 1st of September via the Harris website. Prestonians can currently be nominated to meet Knit Park over the opening weekend and join in the official ribbon cutting on the Sunday. Nominations are via the Harris website and close on the 1st of September. The week leading up to the public opening, there will be a series of invited preview tours for groups and individuals who've been involved in the project over the past 4 years. So these will include tours for members, volunteers, friends of the Harris, and key partners and supporters. I personally look forward to inviting Prestonians and visitors alike back to the Jewel in Preston's Crown. And while I'm talking, just to save the 20th of September for the Encounter Festival, which again will be a good free event for families.
Thank you, Councillor Hindle. Is there a supplementary, Councillor Varty? Thank you for that. Councillor Gregg, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And my question is to Matthew Brown. A recent YouGov poll came out to show that 69% of people in the UK disagree or disapprove of the national government, with 13% only approving. As you know, that the national government's gone after farmers, gone after pensioners, workers who are employers' NICs, children. Doctors are striking, nurses are balloting to strike. They've gone after those on PIP and other benefits. On about £20 billion black hole, and now giving away the Chagos Islands for £37 billion that it'll cost us. It's even led to Angela Rayner's membership being revoked from Unite. Do you support the National Labour Party and what they're currently doing to the country? Thank you.
Myself and all of us are Labour politicians, so yes, we do support the Labour government. That is obvious, and I think we need to look at some of the positives they're doing, like nationalisation of the railways and upping the minimum wage, investing in the health service. However, obviously, we're Preston Labour politicians, so we primarily are concerned with delivering for Preston. We're not national politicians, and I've said that for many, many years, whoever the Labour Party leader is. So this is why we have a very distinctive agenda we're pursuing here around community wealth building and climate justice and other things. So yes, we are all Labour politicians, and that will remain, but we're concentrating on what we can deliver locally, and obviously when the government assists us with certain things, we'll take that as well. Thank you.
Councillor Gregg, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you.
Can you ask it, please? Thank you.
You probably see where this is going in a second. So because of all this mess and because this council follows Corbynomics, will yourself or any of your comrades be joining councillors like County Councillor Lavalette to join the Corbyn party? Thank you.
We've been very clear in the agenda that we've been pursuing. And that agenda started way back in 2011, which predated the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn. So obviously our ideas are mainly radical economic ideas that we want to implement in this community. And the reason we're doing that is because we see huge inequalities within Preston. And this is why we have wanted to change the system. So our vision is really a cooperative vision, which we basically taken from many European countries and some work that was taking place in America. So, as I said, we support the National Labour Party. We support the National Labour leadership as well, because we're Labour politicians, but we're doing things that are very distinctive. We think here in Preston, and we'll continue to do so. And it's actually bringing benefits in terms of people with living wage jobs, affordable homes, companies benefiting from where we spend, regeneration of the city centre, and the development of the cooperative economy. And also things like bringing back council housing, which we're going to announce very soon, which we think will be pretty transformative too.
Thank you. Councillor Vora, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got two questions. So the first one will be to the Cabinet Member for Climate Change. Can you give us more details about the UK 100 network?
Councillor Vora, sorry to interrupt. Can you just ask one question at this stage, please?
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you.
So I'll start again. Can you give me more details about the UK 100 network and what that actually entails, and whether we'll be actually joining the pledge and things like that? That perhaps you could enlighten us on.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Vora. UK 100 is a cross-party national network of councils who will lead the way on tackling climate change. By being part of it, Preston now has access to best practice, has access to expert advice, not that we don't already, but it's a stronger collective voice when pursuing government for resources and powers that we need to promote climate change or climate action within our district. One of the reasons why we've chosen to go with UK 100 is because our neighbours like Chorley and South Ribble, they're all members, and it sort of makes sense for Preston to join as well. It is free, there is no cost associated with the membership. It is a trial basis as well for this year, and I think it shows that Preston, we want to learn, we don't want to be left behind, and we're showing leadership. I can say that we have signed the pledge earlier today. Councillor Brown did sign that along with myself and the officers. So, and I think that will then probably bring us into the network. And I think from there, we then have separate meetings, obviously with Councillor Matthew Brown and the UK 100, and then we'll take it and we'll see where it goes from there. So I can report back to the council later in the year how that goes and see what can come out of it. But there's always, for me, I think I want to explore different ways of climate action, and I think joining UK 100 is a positive step and the right step, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you got a supplementary, Councillor Vora? Thank you. Councillor Henshaw, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry. My question is for Councillor Hindle. So I've recently become re-aware of the Dollywood Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. I heard about this a few years ago, and then somebody's just reminded me just very recently. They've been in Newcastle and they operate it in Newcastle. So it's a book gifting programme. It's funded by the Dollywood Foundation, and it's aiming to inspire a love of books and reading from a very young age. So I just wondered if you've not heard of it, would you consider approaching this organisation and then lobbying LCC, because of course they're the local authority responsible for libraries, and let's get involved and give our children this wonderful opportunity. It's free books. So yeah, that's my question. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hindle. Councillor Henshaw. I have heard of Dollywood, but only by we had a notice of motion in our Labour Party Ribble Valley, and we did not pursue it. So I need to look back into why we did not pursue it, but we didn't do it for whatever reason. There are various places we can get free books. Bookstart is a really good one, especially for under fives. And again, I have sent some information to our community engagement team. to see whether that's going out in our community centres or not. You know, that because that would be an ideal place for it. So in reply, I shall have a look and I'll get back to you. But really, if it's to do with LCC, you should contact LCC, I would suggest.
Do you have a supplementary, councillor Henshaw?
If I may, it's not really supplementary, I guess it's just a little bit more info. The infrastructure is there in this foundation and they work with the library and through the Library Association and schools, then every young school-age child will get a book. So yeah, if you could pursue it, that'd be great, thanks.
Well, as I said, really, we don't have responsibility for what goes in the libraries. We just have responsibility, luckily, for the staff and running the Harris.
Thank you. Councillor Akhtar, please.
Mr. Mayor, the question is to the Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing. So it's we're in the middle of the summer holidays. Schools obviously not in session. Lots of young people looking for things to do. Lots of parents looking for things for their young people to be doing. We've got a holiday activities programme that you've managed to wrestle back from Lancashire County Council, which I think is a great thing. And I just wanted to know how that's going. And importantly, what in terms of the question that I'd like to ask specifically around that is, will we be able to get some sort of breakdown as to how many children from each of the wards have participated in those programmes? Because we really want to encourage more people to get involved. Thanks.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Akhtar. So the holiday activity programme has been a huge success across Preston. We've had 17 providers that have been running the summer programmes, and 15 of them has been to full 100% capacity, which is absolutely amazing. And the 2 other holiday programme was up to 60%. So it's been a huge success across Preston. For the first time since we got the tender commission to Preston City Council, we've had 3 providers that have run the holiday activity programmes just for special needs, and they were full to full capacity. So it's been an amazing summer programme. In terms of the breakdown in how many children attended and which ward, I can get back to you on that, Councillor Akhtar. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, councillor Akhtar?
Please, Mr. Mayor. So a small supplementary to you, which is, it's fantastic that we've got that in the summer. I'm just wondering what the situation is like for, the half-term breaks or winter. Is there any provision for that? Because I know.
So every holiday now going forward, we will be having the holiday activity programmes throughout the year. So every half term we'll be having an activity programme. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question to the Cabinet Member for Environment and Community Safety. It was recently announced that 5 Preston parks have retained a green flag status, which recognises well-managed parks and green spaces. I just wondered if the Cabinet Member will be willing to make a brief statement or comment on this and to recognise the hard work of our officers which made this possible.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Dwyer, for your question. Yeah, I just really wanted to pay tribute to all the officers within the neighbourhood services and parks departments for maintaining a really good standard right across our parks. So obviously, thank you to Mark, his team, and all the staff members for obviously achieving these 5 awards. I also want to pay tribute as well to the Friends of groups who are volunteers who obviously spend a lot of their time, a lot of their hours. They don't need to actually on our parks, helping our staff members, contribute to really good green spaces. And also as well, thanks to people in the probation service as well, who are back now on our parks as well, helping keeping our parks as clean as possible. And also as well to the park users right across Preston, obviously further afield for helping us win these awards. So yeah, thank you very much for your question.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Dwyer?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Green, please.
Thank you. I believe my question's to Councillor Bailey as well. Apologies. Linked in quite nicely, I think. So I know across the city recently there's been police operations tackling antisocial riding of motocross bikes. I was told recently, I think 39 were confiscated, which is, great. There's been kids riding these around, I know in my ward, and I'm aware it's in other wards too, specifically in public fields, which are regularly used by children, dog walkers, football teams. I was wondering if there was any possibility of us perhaps having any sort of spare space where we could always allocate for these riders to go where they're not going to potentially risk other users of parks or kids or anything like that. And also where they might not actually get in trouble for riding them. I know there's places across the city where you can go and ride them again, but they can be expensive, so it kind of can price out those who are less well off. I thought it'd be, perhaps if we did have a little bit of spare space, it's not going to be that much. They just want a space to ride the bikes ultimately. Ensure safety for walkers, public spaces and so on. We actually might be able to promote safety for them and helmet wearing too. So basically my question was, is there any possibility of us having a small space perhaps for these motocross bikers to go and not get in trouble and be able to ride them? Thank you.
Maybe just to help me answer the question, are we talking about, say, motocross bikes in terms of diesel petrol bikes, or are we talking, say, more of these e-bikes?
Yeah, I think it's like the ones with fuel in them, not the e-bikes. It's the little razzy ones where none of them wear helmets. Sorry, none of them wear helmets, and yeah, I believe it's all fuel and things like that. 'Cause I did politely speak to a few, and they were receptive to actually being spoken to like adults, not getting sworn at. And they were sort of receptive to then go and move off. But I am aware, and I believe then they are likely just to move off to another green space in another ward. So obviously you were just talking about the green flag sort of stuff. I thought it fit in well. So yeah, not the e-bikes, it's fuel bikes. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, in terms of motorbikes going across our green spaces, we wouldn't encourage that at all. Because obviously it's a danger to park users, isn't it? And obviously people who are walking dogs, young children as well. If they're going at great speeds, then we don't want to encourage it. In terms of what we've done for cycling, I guess in Preston, obviously I'm assuming everyone's probably attempted to do the Gills Wheel, maybe not completed it, but attempted to do it. So we do try and encourage cycling. Obviously as part of the European funding, the replacement. Obviously, we funded down Fishwick recreational ground repairs to the BMX pump track down there. And obviously, that's we wouldn't again encourage motocross bikes there. Obviously, it'd be more push bikes. And then obviously, as part of the Levelling Up Fund, we're looking at encouraging building a new pump track. Obviously, on the east side of Preston. In the park, in part Levelling Up Fund. I think regarding even, I'll just touch upon electric scooters and obviously e-bikes too. I think it's a difficult one. Now, I think there's a cross-party report that government started, I think like in 2020, and it's predicted to conclude in 2028 regarding what the government wants to do with e-bikes, e-scooters. Obviously, at the moment in time, they are illegal, and I know that there's a lot of issues that the police have with them in terms of young kids using them, people using them A to B, even people delivering foods and food parcels, etc. I think we've got to get that balance right on that, because at the same time we stand in the chamber saying we want to encourage cheaper, more affordable, eco-friendly travel, and then people invent things like e-scooters and e-bikes, and straight away people go, oh no, they should be illegal. So we need to be encouraging more cycle lanes across the city, to be encouraging that use, and hopefully the government will find a real solution that's pedestrian friendly, but also friendly to people who actually use e-bikes and scooters, because I do think we need to find that right balance. In terms of that answer to the question, I don't really have an answer for. I think it's something we need to wait for guidance. In terms of encouraging people to use diesel petrol bikes on our parks, I wouldn't encourage it at all. It's probably illegal, to be fair, but we wouldn't be encouraging it because it puts at risk those park users that are actually trying to use the park responsibly. But again, just to add balance to that side, we do need to find a real solution to try and encourage the movement of people in an environmentally friendly way. And I do think a lot of e-bikes and e-scooters achieves that, but there needs to be a right balance of making sure those pedestrians are safe in terms of walking, and obviously moving people from A to B as fast as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Is there a supplementary, Councillor Green?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Obviously, as they say, sometimes kids will be kids, they're going to ride the motocross bikes, and completely agree. It's illegal what they're doing. That's why I went out and spoke to them politely. Police have been looking into it and so on. Yeah, ultimately, I suppose I'll just be blunt. Is it something we can look at, giving them a little space where they're going to ride them regardless? But I'd prefer our public to be safe and ultimately them to be safe and promote safety. They are motocross bikes, not the e-bikes. I completely agree. E-bikes, different thing and so on. is this something we could potentially look at, giving them a little safe space to ride where it's not going to cost them and it's out of the way of basically walkers and so on? Thank you.
I think Councillor Bailey, it was probably a repeat of the original question. Have you
Yeah,
got
I was
anything
going to say
to add?
maybe just
Thank you.
maybe just to add as well, in certain spaces, we obviously do put up particular gates that will try and prevent that access as well. So if you do have any, say, live examples of where we could try and prevent it further, then, then please get in touch and we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Brooks, I have you as the last question, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. My question is to Councillor Wise. It's only going to be short because I've got a croaky voice. Can you give us an update, please, on city centre regeneration?
Madam Mayor, thank you, Councillor Brooks. Yeah, I mean, lots is happening in the city centre, which I'm sure people will be aware of. You'll see the continuing development of Animate. We've now got Cosmo, the restaurant. Some of us went there for the opening, which is very good. Wagamama is opening this weekend. I know that quite a few members have been to the cinema, so it's actually beginning to thrive, and there's been some amazing photos, certainly on some of our WhatsApp groups, of Animate at night. So that's really, really good. And works have commenced on the Mad Giant Food Hall, which is a great opportunity for local businesses. Obviously, the Harris, Councillor Hindle has already mentioned that because that's really important from a city centre regeneration perspective. The Vault, Preston's Youth Zone, is going to open before the end of this calendar year. And again, I'm sure people will have seen how it's coming along, and it seems a huge building. And I know one great thing as far as I'm concerned is they're going to be a real living wage employer, which is obviously a bonus. Amounderness House next door to us here. We will be hopefully starting work at the end of September on that. There's just some final things being ironed out in terms of that. And again, I'm sure people will have noticed on Old Vicarage the improvements that have taken place, so that if people are walking from the bus station to Animate, it is much, much nicer, better lit, and so on. And there will be more public realm improvements to Friargate South, Lancaster Road, and Queen Street. So obviously, mentioning cycling, there is going to be the east-west cycling route, and so we're just sort of finalising the finer details of these. And again, the tram bridge, I know it's not exactly right in the city centre, but it is an important thing for us. And I don't know how many of you have been at the Pavilion Cafe to see the latest exhibition, and you can actually see what the bridge is going to be made of. And I certainly would recommend that, and it is really, really exciting. So I think lots is happening that we can be really proud of. And I look forward to, continuing to be able to report to the council on these developments. Thank you, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Councillor Wise. Is there a supplementary, Councillor Brooks? Okay, thank you for that. That brings us to the end of questions. So we'll now move on to item 6, which is a report on Preston Future City Strategy 2025 to 2035. Councillor Brown, are you moving this report, please?
Madam Mayor, yes, this is mine. Thank you very much. Do take a chance to have a look at this. These have just been designed today. So obviously this is the core document that will be available to the public, and thanks to the designers, a very good job indeed. Just seen this just now. So this is our city strategy, which will cover from 2025 to 2035. So obviously we're thinking long term indeed. So we as a council takes our role as a leader place very seriously, and we work alongside a range of partners to shape a new strategy for the city, which is underpinned by the vision of a pioneering city built on community wealth and shared prosperity now and for future generations. The document's intended to be a partner to the corporate strategy, but focus more on the things we want to influence and need partners to deliver, as opposed to the corporate plan, which we'll get on to next, which focuses more clearly on our own city council delivery and investment plans. The city strategy also covers the longer time as the things it sets out to change are likely to take much longer to deliver. As the forward says, and I say, Preston is a city shaped by its people, proud, diverse, ambitious and resilient. As we look ahead to 2035, we do so with a clear purpose and deep commitment to create a fairer, greener and more prosperous city for everyone who lives, works and invests here. The city strategy marks a bold chapter in Preston's story. It's rooted in a pioneering spirit of the people of Preston. And like the corporate plan, it puts community wealth building at the heart of future plans for the city. And the community wealth building, as you know, we mentioned before, Councillor Gregg, a radical bottom-up approach that has already begun to redefine local economic development across the region. And the intention is to place power and prosperity in the hands of our community. So the Preston model champions a more democratic economy where everyone can contribute and that contribution is valued and every resident can thrive. So this will sit alongside the corporate plan and will give a refreshed set of policies and a vision we could all buy into, which enables the city to take up its rightful place as the driver of sub-regional growth, but one in which everyone shares and where we all commit to enabling all our communities and residents to benefit from all that our brilliant city has to offer. As with the corporate plan, we'll have the document designed, which has now been done, and we'll use this as a tool to drive engagement and delivery for the future. We're also finalising the list of key strategies and we'll circulate this in the final version. We're currently updating the city scorecard and we'll circulate this updated version as soon as it is available. So obviously this is working with our anchor network, in particular, working with Great British Energy, working with our university, working with partners to deliver cyber security opportunities and other things, but crucially to build a more democratic and fair economy and community in Preston. So the recommendations are at paragraph 2.1. So I'm happy to take any questions or discussions, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to present this.
Thank you. First of all, is that seconded, please? Councillor Aptar, thank you. Councillor Potter, oh, sorry, first of all, are there any amendments? No, so we can have a discussion on it. Councillor Potter, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, thank you, Matthew and the officers for coming up with this strategy. And the comments I'm going to make on this likewise for item 7 next. Now, we won't be supporting this, even though there's lots of laudable things in it. But you guys have a democratic mandate to produce a strategy. That's what you produce. Fair enough. But we obviously can't support things that we disagree with. So, you wouldn't expect us to. And that's why this document will be reviewed annually. There might be a change in governance in this council next year. We don't know if there are elections next year. So for us, there are plenty of laudable things in this, but we can't support things. This isn't our strategy. I say it's your strategy. And for us, we would be bolder in certain areas. We're not going to get into a debate about community wealth building now, but we've had, well-established differences with whether that is a simple word salad that you put into documents or is actually something that's meaningfully making change. And for us, it's just not there and just wouldn't follow what we would do if we were in power. So we were respectful that you have got a democratic mandate. But I will say, I would hope, with the scorecard system, we'd look for more information going forward. So we, as both in scrutiny and in this chamber, can assess how are we doing in actually tackling those key problems within our city, because that's what we all want. We all want, regardless of party policy, we all want this city to be a more prosperous and better city for our residents. And I think nothing kind of exemplifies why I think this probably isn't quite right for us right now. If you go to page 36, it quite clearly says on strategy and plans, under your current model and in development, you've left the line in saying we need to add more. So, like I said, I just don't think this is quite ready, but I understand why you do. We do need to have a vision. It's really important for our partners, both in the different industries around central Lancashire for Preston, because we can't do it on our own. You've already talked about how the government is doing one thing and you are trying to do your own thing. You can't do it on your own, so we do need other partners to be part of it. So we will understand your position, we understand the document, but we will be abstaining this because it's not what we would do if we were in charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Whittam.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you, Councillor Brown, for that. Just a quick query from me under Appendix A under item 4, opportunities. You refer to in there Greater Preston / Preston City region as part of a new city deal. I'm assuming that's a geographic area. Can you give us some indication of what that geographical area is referring to?
Should I bring you in at the end, Councillor Brown, when I've got Councillor Jewell to come in next? Is that right, Councillor Jewell? Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. So in general, I like documents like this because it really should bring everything together and the purpose of what the council is about and feed everything that you do from that overall vision. And I've read the vision numerous times, and I'll just read it again. A pioneering city built on community wealth and shared prosperity. I don't actually know what that means, if I be honest. You go on within your Preston model, which the context of which we don't entirely disagree with, but you say putting prosperity and power in the hands of local people. Well, yeah, we would agree with that as well. I'm not entirely sure the people of Preston would think you were fulfilling that with the position you took last winter around winter fuel payments. I know you've moved your position on that, or your refusal to increase the two child benefits, or your assault on benefit claimants, disability benefit claimants. But moving on from that, I always think if you're going to be critical about something, you've got to say, well, what would you do? So what would a Lib Dem vision be? And I'm not putting policy on the hoof here, but it would say something around empowering local communities, perhaps empowering local communities to thrive. Perhaps empowerment would be a key part of it. And I think that probably distinguishes Liberal Democrats from some of the other parties. So what you have in here, you make reference, and from that, you would then be able to say, well, what are your vital signs that indicate that vision, the overall strategy that you're trying to achieve? And from that, you could have a structure from those vital signs of the other key indicators, and thus the key things you want to do. But what we have in this document, and it's already been mentioned by my colleague, is a bit of a word salad, really. I think someone's just thrown a load of KPIs in there with no real structure to it or how it relates to the overall vision or strategy. So things like, and I'm not too sure how some of the policies then relate to the Lib Dem vision, to the Labour vision, but within a Lib Dem vision, we would be able to do things like, for example, have new or upgraded playgrounds in the communities that they serve. Perhaps we could do something with new businesses, startup businesses within the legislative flexibility we have around business rates to encourage them to occupy some of our buildings. So then you begin to build up some really positive stuff rather than throwing money into a bank that bluntly doesn't offer anything more than the high street does, or throwing money into the endless pit of the Guildhall because it's some pet project. So as my colleague, Councillor Potter has already said, we will be voting to, we will not be voting for this because quite frankly, I see it as really quite incoherent, but we do see the need for it. It is the basis on which you will make funding applications. We want to support you as much as we can in that, but we will not be supporting this particular paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jewell. Councillor Rawlinson, did you wish to speak?
Obviously, I support this document and the next one. Obviously, they're very closely linked. An incredible amount of work has gone into items 6 and 7 by the officers, by the cabinet, and even the whole Labour group. In fact, it's probably the biggest piece of work that's been done like this, comparable to any of the capital projects in Preston for quite some time. It's a shame that it might only stand for a year or two by the looks of it, but it needed doing and it's been done, and I think it's fantastic. And the criticism we're getting from across the way there, some of them are outrageous. Talking about our stance on national policies, what has that got to do with this? Absolutely nothing. This is Preston's strategy, Preston's vision. Yes, it's ours, absolutely. We're the ruling group. We put it together with the officers through a very long, detailed process. Criticising the structure and the content is terribly insulting to these officers who've spent so much time going back and forth with us. The peer review had a big influence on this as well, and the content is excellent, I feel. And the fact that they're raising points of grammar
in the report, which they've done in an amendment later on in the agenda. I think that really is the extent of the Lib Dems' contribution to Preston, you know, proofreading.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Councillor Wise.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, like my deputy leader, I fully support, and the leader, I fully support this document. I just want to deal with the question of the bank, because, you know, at the moment, we've got a banking system that actually doesn't really support small and medium enterprises. You've talked about startups and whatever. It's actually really difficult as a small business to get a loan from a bank. And that is one of the things about the North West Mutual Bank, is that it will be there to support small and medium enterprises. And also, you say about what's already available on the high street. The fact is, branches are being closed by the big banks. And as I've previously said in this chamber, this isn't anything particularly revolutionary. You just look across the water at Germany, they've got lots of much smaller banks. So I think the idea that that is wrong. Also, just picking out another thing that I think is really good, which comes under my portfolio, is being a living wage city. I would have thought you would be supporting that, because the fact is 12,000 people still in this city earn below the real living wage. I think that's a scandal. The fact is we've got many, many children living in poverty in Preston. Actually having their parents earning the real living wage actually will help lift those children out of poverty. So what we've got here are some really practical issues that are actually going to help the people of this city live a better, more thriving life. I agree with empowerment, by the way. But I mean, loads of people agree with empowerment. I suppose it's what does it really mean? I want to look at see how we can actually ensure that the people in this city actually are more involved in all sorts of aspects of life. And I hope that they will welcome the commitment we're making to try and improve things in this city for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wise. Councillor Hull.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I find some of the opposition from the Liberals quite comical. It's the only way I can describe it. I mean, at one point, Councillor Potter earlier today in this chamber was saying that it's good to see that a Stallard member of the council, Jonathan Saxena, wasn't expedient to the extent of looking for votes, because he just grasped the nettle and dealt with casework, and that's very important. And then he says one thing about, oh, we are out of sync with local policy with regards to Westminster. Then Councillor Jules is hooing and ahhing about saying, well, I don't know what we would do with regards to liberal policy on the greater scheme of things. And then he can't understand part of the document. And then he says, oh, well, I would look towards empowering local communities. Well, actually, quite frankly, I don't know what he means by empowering local communities if it isn't in the document that we've already set forward, because it's perfectly obvious that empowering local communities is what this side of this chamber have been trying to do as long as we've been in office. And of course, the Liberals' policy, whether it's in this chamber or in Westminster, is usually the 100 yards dash for people with no sense of direction, except for looking at a ballot box and looking for some sort of headline that will make them seem more popular to the general electorate. So as far as I'm concerned, as usual, Mr. Mayor, everything we receive in opposition from the Liberals to this document is hot air and I'm sorry, I don't want to use expletives. Hot air would be sufficient. But all the work that the Cabinet and our very strong officers have put into this document is incredibly important to empowering the people of Preston. And I urge everyone in this chamber who has a conscience with regards to the people of Preston to vote with this document, because that's how we will empower people, not by having a mass debate about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And it's Madam Mayor, Councillor Hull. Councillor Brown to come back on to reply, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I think the Liberals are missing the point a little with this, because what I said at first was this is a document where we work with our partners, because we're not the largest council, not like Birmingham that has a budget of 3.5 billion. We've got a budget of 30 million. So by working with our partners, we can achieve a lot more. So that's the principle behind it. But I mean, obviously, we need to probably do what you do with your focus leaflet. We can say that the Liberals voted against a citywide ban on HMOs and a move to private sector licensing. They voted against good health from pregnancy and birth. They voted against healthy life expectancy and premature mortality. They voted against mental health and well-being, because that's the kind of taxes that you would use. So obviously we could do with a bit more adult politics with it. If you read through this, it's a very transformative document that is through partnership work. You want to really lift people up in our community, make sure everyone can prosper. And unlike yourselves, it is radical in terms of the economic approach, because we don't want to see more cooperatives, we want to see more public ownership. We do want to see more unionised jobs and more people who live in an affordable home and receive a real living wage, whereas yourselves, you're pretty silent on that pretty much all the time. So happy to recommend what's in paragraph 2.1 to the Chamber. And just in terms of Councillor Whittam, your issue of Greater Preston, my understanding that is Preston, South Ribble and Chorley. So it's a functioning economic area, but with the city deal covers Preston and South Ribble currently, but we work closely with Chorley as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. So can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's carried. Item 7 is a report on the 2025-2030 corporate plan. The report was unavailable at the time the agenda was published, as information was being collated for the final document. I've decided to accept the item as an urgent one in order to address the recent corporate peer challenge undertaken by the Local Government Association and to identify the strategic direction of the council in the future. Councillor Brown, are you moving this report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, so this is obviously the corporate strategy, which is a bit more immediate. So this is going to cover 2025 to 2030. Obviously, we expect this council to come to an end 28 or 29. That is the expectation. So the corporate plan is different from the previous document I mentioned, that it's really trying to support what we can do as a council in terms of the time that we have left and the projects that we can actually deliver directly. So the plan's broken down into 5 ambitions and priority areas. These are supported by several focused projects. The projects range from long-term infrastructure expansion, such as the plans for the station quarter, through changes to bus reform and bus ownership, to improve connectivity to jobs and services, to ensuring accessibility to sustainable green spaces, and our work to tackle climate change. At the heart of the plan, again, is our commitment to the Preston model, a radical, innovative approach to social economic challenges and inequalities, which puts power in the hands of local people through a democratic economy, and in doing so seeks to deliver a fairer and more equitable city. So in terms of, obviously, these are very well crafted documents, obviously a great job done by our officers, but in terms of actual achievements, I won't list them all, but we have, as an authority, secured the highest levels of new and affordable and social housing in the county of Lancashire, and for the people who now live in a new affordable home, that is obviously important to them. You mentioned about investment in parks, in our parks and city centre. We put tens of millions in our parks and our city centre in terms of investment. Obviously, Councillor Bailey is coming forward with this place strategy, which will include new parks in the city from next year. We recently accredited as a living wage city. Now there's 4,000 plus people who've had a pay rise by us being a living wage employer and encouraging other employers to do so. And then obviously we've all been to Animate, which is a £50 million council-owned regeneration scheme, delivering regeneration at scale in our city centre. And this is why what we're doing is distinctive, because if we're still holding the hands of corporate global developers, none of what we're seeing being built would have been built. So for all our strategies and the projects, there's an underlying objective of fairness to ensure more people benefit within Preston. This is best exemplified by a commitment to more skilled and secure jobs with better wages, more affordable and warmer homes, accessible public services and targeted work to help those who are struggling, as well as delivering a more democratic economy. Our future will present a range of challenges and opportunities, as it always does, but the plans we have outlined in the document will address the challenges and capitalise on those opportunities. At the heart of our work is that belief in a democratic economy delivering more prosperity that is being shared by all. And obviously, council-wise, doing a wonderful job taking much of that forward currently. We fundamentally believe that a strong plan also will position the city and council well in forthcoming reorganisation of local government, placing Preston and its ambitions and challenges at the centre of any unitary authority, which can always come in and provide a sharp, clear vision for the future, building on our many successes. So I hope you can all join me in endorsing this strong new vision and corporate plan for the city. Following agreement at council, we will have the document designed, which has now been done, as I said earlier, and we will use this as a tool to drive engagement and delivery for the future. So we're asking council to agree the recommendations at paragraph 2.1. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Rawlinson, thank you. Are there any amendments? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No? Do we just move to the vote, or do you wish to speak? It's Councillor Rawlinson seconded. So we'll move to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8 is a report on the establishment of the Preston Climate Change Forum and the relaunch of the Preston Green Pledge. Councillor Sarwar, will you be moving this report, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to briefly note, this report is for noting. It covers two key steps we're taking this autumn as part of our ongoing climate work in Preston City. First is the relaunch of the Preston Green Pledge. It gives local residents, schools and organisations a clear and simple way of being involved in climate action, being involved in what we're sharing with the community, being involved in what we're sharing with officers, and also being involved in climate action. The second one is the establishment of the Preston Climate Forum. Again, this will bring people together from across Preston, from schools, places of worship, or people from different faiths, etc., all coming together to help the city to guide future work. Both of these directly respond to the recommendation 4 from the Preston People Climate Jury, which asked us to improve communication and give people more practical tools to take action. We're also looking to use the Green Pledge as a platform for Preston's first citywide climate event, something that's happened before in the city. So it will be at the Encounter in September. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's called the Thrones of Pledges. So anyone can come along and take part and just make a pledge to the city and share ideas and raise awareness. I think it's brilliant that this is happening because it shows that we are listening as a council. We listen to what residents told us through the jury process. I think while this report is for noting, it marks an important moment in keeping our climate work visible, collaborative and community-led. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. Are there any amendments? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Councillor Whittam?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Sarwar, for that introduction. Fully supportive, absolutely supportive of this. The only thing I would ask, and I would ask everyone in this chamber, can we please make sure it delivers something really positive rather than, I know you're talking about 3 or 4 meetings a year and it's a relaunch, and I absolutely get where you're coming from and fully support you. Let's make sure it delivers something tangible. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor Whittam. Councillor Henshaw?
Yeah, thank you. Very, very happy to support this. I guess the Green Pledge did take a little bit of a sideline to the climate jury and the work that was doing. So I'm very happy to see if that gets reinvigorated. Yeah, that would be really good. Yeah, very happy to support this. And I thought we were members of UK 100. I must have missed that somewhere along the line. I remember signing up and everything, but obviously, anyway, but yeah, no, thank you. I fully support the work you're doing. Yeah, thanks.
Anybody else wish to speak? Can we now move then to the vote on this item? All those in favour, please show. It's not unanimous, but anybody against? Let me just make sure. Any abstentions? No, that's carried. Thank you. Item 9 is a report on the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and a summary of the 23 to 25 programme. Councillor Brown, will you be moving this report, please?
Yeah, briefly, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so the delivery of the final year of the Shared Prosperity investment is currently underway, and Council is receiving reports on how and where this investment is being targeted. But this report provides a final summary of delivery of our previous 3-year UK SPF investment plan from 2022 to 25. A total of 29 projects were delivered across the 3 priorities of communities in place, support for local businesses and people and skills. Most of these projects were led by our council departments and our council officers, working with the voluntary community sector especially, and focusing on building capacity within our communities, supporting and promoting business growth, supporting those with complex challenges to get into work, and on tackling climate change. We also delivered a range of support to sporting organisations, support to residents to keep their homes warm, an improved events programme under Council Hindle, of course, and a whole host of initiatives to help residents develop skills and access better opportunities. The future of shared prosperity is unclear, but I'm proud that we've been able to lever the investment to focus on the most deprived communities and to address the critical issues facing our council. So we're therefore asking the council to note the final appendix, which is the final appendix at Appendix 1, the update. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is that item seconded? Councillor Rawlinson, thank you. Does anybody have any amendments? Anybody wish to speak on this item? No. Can we now move to the vote, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 10 is a report on the Changing Futures Programme 25-26. It was meant to be Councillor Kelly. So Councillor Brown, are you moving this report, please? Who? Councillor Coupland? Oh, yep. Councillor Coupland, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm moving this report on behalf of Councillor Kelly. This report seeks approval from the Council for Preston City Council to accept 460,920 of funding from Blackpool Council for the management of the Changing Future Programme, Central West Pennine, Lancashire for 25-26, and to agree a plan for allocation of 399,000 from the funding to commission Red Rose Recovery, a local voluntary and community sector organisation, which provides drug and alcohol recovery support services to deliver the Changing Future Programme in Central West Pennine, Lancashire for that period. Changing Future is a national programme focused on improving outcomes for adults facing multiple disadvantages. Funding has been extended until March 2026 and continued to support local people facing at least 3 of the 5 areas of disadvantage: homelessness, poor mental health, drug and alcohol addiction, contact with the criminal justice system and domestic abuse. The programme aims to transform local services by fostering collaboration between all the agencies involved and supporting adults who face multiple disadvantages and deliver more effective person-centred support. Recommend the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Coupland. Is that seconded, please? Oh, all these hands went up. Councillor Sarwar, I think, just picked everybody to the post. Is there any amendments, please, on this? Does anybody wish to speak? So can we go to the vote then, please? All those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous, but I'll just go through anyone against, any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 11 is a report on a request to extend a contract to supply stair lifts and through lifts via disabled facilities grants. Councillor Coupland, will you be moving this report, please? Thank you.
I will. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report again seeks an extension of contract to supply stair lifts through floor lifts. This existing contract, sorry, can I start again, Madam Mayor? This report seeks approval from Council to extend an existing contract for the supply of stair lifts and lifts to recipients of disabled facility grants. The existing contract was for 5 years with the option of an extension subject to satisfactory performance. Officers have confirmed the performance has been satisfactory An extension would run from 1st of December 2025 until 30th of November 2027. The contract extension has to be agreed by 30th of August 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Copeland. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Sarwar, thank you. I think you were quick again. That's fine, thank you. Are there any amendments? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No. So can we move to the vote, please? All those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 12 is a report on the financial procedure rules. This report was unavailable at the time the agenda was published, as external information had just been received. I've decided to accept the item as an urgent one, as good governance is necessary to support a good council. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
Thank you. This is an update to the financial procedure rules. They haven't been updated for quite some time, which is the reason why there's such significant changes to some of this. This is about who makes decisions and how much they're allowed to make decisions up to in their delegation, and it includes council and cabinet and officers and cabinet members as well. So they all have different levels of delegations. All the figures have been effectively doubled. It's such a long time since we looked at this, and the cost of everything has rocketed. So it does seem appropriate to do that. It also covers some updates regarding electronic payments, which obviously is changing all the time. And it also nods its head towards local government reorganisation, what might need to happen next year if that goes ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Rawlinson. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Wise, thank you. Are there any amendments to this item? Anybody wish to speak? No. Can we now then vote on this item, please? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13 is a report on a review of public questions at council. An alteration to the report has recently been published. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report with alteration?
Thank you. Yes. So, as you all know, you're all living it just like me. Politics is quite a hostile place these days, for various reasons. Some of you might say I make it more hostile, but I won't comment on that. As far as I know, no one on this council has ever been found guilty of any form of bigotry by any body, whether it's the council, a political party, the police. No one here has ever been found guilty of bigotry or hate. And yet a question was submitted to this council which basically stated that 2 of our councillors were anti-Semites, which is totally unproven. Even now, months later, it's still unproven. No one has found anyone guilty of such a thing here. So we really can't have public question used in that manner. It's happening all over the place. People telling lies about councillors, about politicians, in the press, on social media, and it's purely opinions. That's all it is. We can't control the press, we can't control social media, but we can control what happens in this room. And we're not having people come in here and saying things like that about our councillors when it's simply not true. So what it did flag up is a safeguarding issue. If that happens, then and even when it happens outside this council, it raises safeguarding issues for councillors, especially perhaps female councillors. And after that particular incident, we were all worried about those 2 councillors. Some of our female members are raising this now with officers and what can be done to safeguard councillors. Plus, there really is no protection for councillors. People can shout at us in the street, they can be aggressive, they can tell lies about us in the media, and no one does anything about it. Not the political parties, not the council, not the police, unless you're willing to go and sue somebody, and you know who can afford to do that. So these new rules are not out of left field. They've been copied and pasted from another council's constitution, and they appear in other councils' constitutions. They appear to have been missing from ours, really. In reality, it wasn't a problem until recently, until you know we started getting questions. Questions designed to try and trip councillors up, make them say something that would get them into trouble. Questions that were followed up by complaints on the content of the answer, which was what the question was designed to do. So we've got to try and avoid that if we can, because this is not the forum for that high political stuff. We need to do the work here. We won't be taking any amendments. You can propose them, but we won't be taking them because this has been through a process with the officers, and this is what we've got now. We need to see if that works.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Wise, thank you. Now, there's been an amendment submitted by the Liberal Democrat group, which was published earlier. Councillor Potter, are you moving this amendment, please?
I am, Madam Mayor, sorry, thank you very much. First of all, I understand the need for the original changes. I think what you'll see from our amendment actually strengthens quite a bit of it. It's very illuminating that Councillor Rawlinson had a go about proofreading. It does explain some of the errors that keep on cropping up into the reports that we then have to check. For example, the fact that this is still referred to as a borough rather than a city would be one that you'd think would be fairly obvious. But actually our amendment, and I'm actually really surprised at Councillor Brown, because I think some of the stuff you've got this from is from county, which has an utterly appalling democratic deficit, of which the Labour group, combined with the Tories and the Greens and myself, have started to change some of the processes that you now want to add into Preston City Council. It's almost as if you didn't actually read this before it came here and understand that you're doing one thing at county and another thing at this chamber. But let's go back. And I will say just about the alteration, that is very welcome. It came from the fact that I spotted the fact that under your original proposal, no one here asking questions would be able to do so on the agenda, because the agenda would come out the same time as their deadline to order to submit a question. It's one of the ridiculousness of County Hall, which you wanted to bring in here. And then I contacted officers saying, you do realise this is what's going to happen, and you've now amended it, which is great, which is what we want to do. And we put 5 working days, you've put from the Friday before, but in essence, that's the same point. So well done for spotting that, but of course, we spotted it first and let officers know. Other things that I don't think are right, and because ultimately I think you're making the situation worse. Now, we have strengthened some of those protections that Martin has rightly talked about. Now, of course, there are laws on defamation, slander, libel, incitement to hatred, all existing court laws, but Councillor Rawlinson is right, you do have to have money to do that. But those things, if the chief exec wanted to rule them out, they were already in the existing powers. There's nothing new there. They were already in there. So that is kind of a misnomer in terms of what your amendment is trying to do. And I should just point out to members, this is quite a complicated document, because basically you have the Constitution, what you were going to amend to it, and then our amendment, which takes some of the bits you've come up with, because we agree with some of it. This is sensible politics. Some of the things you have brought forward, we agree with and have adopted in our amendment. Other things we think are glaring omissions. One of them is the fact that someone asking a question can't be on something that's affecting them personally. How ridiculous is that? What if that person is of a tiny community or something that only affects them? That makes their need for a question less valid? It's ridiculous. Some of the best casework I've ever took action on have been for very acute, unique issues of an individual. And what your policy is saying now is that they can be dismissed. Like I said, I hope you've read that carefully. You actually say, so in our amendment, we take that clause out. And thank you, Pab, for nodding away. I appreciate the support, even visually from across the chamber. One of the other ones we talk about is asking, and we saw during the Ashton Park debate, Lots of people ask questions on that. Don't worry, Fred, you don't have to go for another long toilet break while we discuss it. It's okay. So, but what, very small bladder that went on for 2 hours. Yeah, that's right. So, and one of the things we talk about is you're not allowed to ask questions within 6 months of a question. And what we said, unless there's a material change. Because imagine you implement a policy, it has some negative effect, and then the resident is not allowed to raise the negative effect in council. Again, it's a daft policy. And what we've done is tweak it. And I was really hoping you'd take this as a friendly amendment, to be absolutely honest with you. And so we tweaked it and made it better. We strengthened your argument. One of the other ones, we talk about it can't be from a political party. Now, there's two ways this doesn't work. There's a practical way. So if you were the chair of the Preston Green Party, you just don't say you're the chair of the Preston Green Party and you could ask the question anyway. But for other people who will say, I'm the chair of the Preston Green Party, will deliberately put that in a question, forcing you to reject it, and then they can scream and blame the victim. So practically and politically, it does not work. And again, and also, political parties exist to be in a voice of a certain part of the electorate. And that is their goal. And okay, we've got the three parties in there. Maybe it'll become a fourth at some point. But there are lots of other people who do not vote for any of us in this chamber. And you have to give a right to those people and their voices to be heard. And those representatives of that political party are an important part of democracy. And sometimes they overstep them out. Me and Matthew and any of us on County Hall know exactly what this is going through at the moment with a particular extreme form of politics that's happening in Lancashire. But this does not help. You are feeding into that view that it is an establishment stitch-up. So look at this amendment detail. You should absolutely accept this amendment for what it is. It strengthens all the protections you want, gets rid of some of the errors you've put into it, and will be better for this city. Now, Martin Rawlinson has already said he's not even going to consider it, but look at the faces of some of you, didn't realise some of the points I've just raised about some of the things you are now trying to exclude. And it'll be really interesting what happens going forward. And because don't forget, I was the person that brought in public questions at planning because there was a democratic deficit there, and there was a notice of motion on my, I think, 3rd month here in this chamber to bring that. And what you're doing is rowing that back, just like Jeff Driver did at County Hall. And unfortunately, Matthew, you are taking the wrong lessons from that particular bit of local history. So I urge all of you to support this amendment, and let's not weaken our democratic processes.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Little, do you wish to speak? Okay, thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? Councillor Jewell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must admit, I did wonder what some of the motivation was behind this. I found it quite revealing what was said there because of specific questions and accusations of anti-Semitism. And I'm certainly not aware of any anti-Semitism in this chamber. But I feel, as a Liberal Democrat, really uncomfortable with restricting the public's questioning of this chamber. And I've never stood for the view that because some may, and I'm not saying in this particular case they did or didn't, I'm just making a general point, that, or because some might want to sort of push that too far and use it for their own purposes, that should not be used as a reason for restricting the wider public's engagement with this chamber. And as such, I find that quite dangerous. And I'm not going to make a political point about it, but that's a real reason why I object to the substantive. And as Councillor Potter says, and a number of the colleagues on this bench were involved in the drafting of that, and it was genuinely drafted as a friendly amendment. And I would urge the Labour group to consider this amendment as an improvement to what you've put forward. We're not making any kind of swipes about it, but it does improve and give substance to what you're trying to achieve without restricting the ability for members of the public to engage with this chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jewell. Councillor Darby, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. agree with what my colleagues have said, but I also welcome what Councillor Rawlinson said in introducing this in the first place. It was really helpful to get an understanding of why it's come forward, why it's come about. But just to echo what Councillor Jewell was saying, is the work that was done in the background from our side to try and present this as a friendly amendment. Councillor Rawlinson, when you said that you weren't going to be taking any amendments, you said that the reason for that was that there had been a process that had gone through before bringing this item to council. I wonder if there's a way forwards, if you can take on board some of what we've said, perhaps if you were to withdraw this from this council so that the amendment can go through a process again to try and work between all sides of this council to try and make sure that we can all work together, that the public can come in here, to be welcomed in here as a part of the democratic process to speak. I'm sure you'll reply to us in a moment, but thank you. That's all I had to say.
I can't see any other hands up. So I can't see any other hands up. So Councillor Henshaw, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm a little bit bewildered just at this moment in time. So I can't. When I saw the Lib Dem amendment, I just thought they were being a little bit pedantic. But then listening to Councillor Potter talking about how they'd be very small, marginalised bits of the community not being able to speak, I can't actually see that in your amendment. So, yeah, I'll just keep my bewilderment for a little bit longer. I wanted to submit an amendment, and I'm on my own here. I'm the only independent, and I don't think about processes, and I didn't do it right, should I? I should have submitted my amendment a week ago when I first thought about it. But I wanted to include something in here about duty of care to elected members. And I wanted to put in here about, questions that could actually cause an endangerment to some of the elected members. And I think I'd like a little bit longer to work on this, unless we can do it here and now and we can make sure that we are including that in here, because I didn't feel safe. It was about me and I did not feel safe. So yeah, I welcome this change in this because that question in March should never have been allowed. Yeah, but I am a little bit bewildered still at this moment in time, and John was going to show me something, and that's great. But maybe I'd like to just postpone this a little while until we can sort this out. Thanks.
Councillor Wise, please.
Yeah, I just want to reassure Councillor Henshaw and why we think it basically should be happening today, because we don't want a repeat of what happened to you. And we absolutely agree with you about safeguarding. And that's why when we were discussing this as a Labour group on Tuesday, and already actually Councillor Khan has written to the Deputy Chief Executive, because we've actually thought about personal alarms, because we do feel that councillors can be put in danger, particularly female councillors. We don't like the fact that people know or knew where you lived and stuff. We already have the situation where we don't have to put our address on the website, and I think most of us as women don't put our address on. I certainly don't, because I do live alone and would actually can sometimes feel quite afraid. And I do think we need to be looking more at how we can ensure that we are safe as councillors when we're actually doing our ward work and holding surgeries. So I just want to reassure you that is not just a SOP. We actually do really want to actually see what we can do in terms of discussions with the Deputy Chief Executive, how to make things safer for all of us, but particularly for female members of the council. So I hope she will be reassured that we're not going to forget about all of this, but we just think, let's get this through. If it needs further amendment, it might need further amendment. We can then consider that. But I think we should be agreeing this today so that actually we can stop things straight away happening like happened to you previously. Thank you.
Councillor Brown, did you want to come in?
Just really briefly, I just think the principle has to be that we should get questions based upon what we're actually responsible for as politicians. We seem to be getting questions on things that we're not responsible for. And obviously, I totally support the issue that my colleagues have made around that we do have a duty of care, because some of the questions we received, and there's been several, the mental health and other well-being of our councillors on this side of the chamber has been really badly damaged. There's been advice about their personal safety has been said. So, it makes sense that when we actually are questioned, this is based on best advice from other authorities, it's based on what we actually do. As I said before, we're not members of the House of Commons, we're not members of an assembly or the House of Lords, we're local politicians, we have services which we deliver. The county has services, the Parliament has other services, but we should be questioned based on what we do deliver. And I think trying to be questioned on anything, and some of the questions that got through, it's nothing to do with the responsibilities we directly have. So it's got the right balance here, and it's not trying to restrict democracy. And I think it'll make things better, because I think the questions we get will be focused on what we actually can deliver and do deliver, instead of something that we're not responsible for. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I can't see any more hands up, so it's back to Councillor Little, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to keep it quite brief. Obviously, I agree with everything that Councillor Potter said. It sometimes shocks me, and I'm trying, it's only my first year, not to be shocked, but to hear Councillor Rawlinson, before even having a debate, say, we're not accepting anything, quote, there's no chance that we're doing that. We're not going to take a valid argument from Councillor Darby and have a look at this at a later date. And then I hear other people over there saying, yes, it would be good if we could get some amendments in the future. I mean, I'd welcome you to take our amendment, come back to us in 6 months' time, put it on the table, I'll vote for it then. I mean, you've done it with other things. There's nothing that we're trying to do here that's hostile. I don't feel comfortable in restricting what we already have when it comes to members of public coming in and asking us questions. We already have ways of stopping those questions happening. As we saw, which was, a couple of council sessions ago, that question was pulled and wasn't asked. So what do you need to do that's different to that? What you've done here is you've put something here that says we can have 3 minutes reply, they can have 2. What's that about? Why are we restricting the reply time that people who take their time out of their day to come and ask us questions of what we're doing for them? Any restrictions that we put forward on the members of public that come here, I'm against. We already have mechanisms to stop questions that you are describing here. And like I said, I thought this would just come through and get voted through. I thought it was very friendly. There was nothing in it that was any different, and I thought it would be fine. The notes that I've put on here is we've added to it, we've strengthened it, and the whole thing is stronger with our amendment. But as you said, there's no chance we won't look at it. Thank you very much.
Councillor Rawlinson, as the mover of the original motion, you come back to reply now, please, on the amendment. Thank you.
Well, the entirety of Councillor Little's speech was just completely untrue. And it sounds like he doesn't want any time limits. You want to sit here all day taking questions. So just ridiculous. The amendment is gobbledygook. We could all sit down and think of 100 what ifs. We're not stopping anyone coming here asking questions at all. We're stopping them coming here making accusations, and we're never going to have a repeat of that awful question, which you've got to remember was the Lib Dems were cheerleading it. They were cheerleading that awful question that put our councillors in danger. They wanted it asked. They were asking why it wasn't asked. Councillor Jewell asked why it was stopped. They wanted the question to come forward. Yeah, when I've finished. It's not a point of order. It's not a point of order.
Councillor Jordan, do you want to raise a point of order?
Yes. So I think what Councillor Rawlinson is referring to is I was asking the mayor.
Sure, it's a point of explanation that he's making, not a point of order. He needs to wait.
No, it is an explanation
about the procedures, the rules of this.
No, this is exactly what I'm getting to, if you allow me to speak.
He won't do. He's not going to consider anything.
So the point of order being, I was asking on what point the question was being refused. Now, whether it was that question or any other question, I was not sort of ringing the bell and flying the flags for that question. You have to distinguish between the two. It's a really important distinction, and it was one of process.
Chair, explaining what he said 3 councils ago. It's not a point of order.
Thank you, Councillor Jewell. Councillor Rawlinson, do you want to carry on? Or do you want to move to the vote?
Okay, I warned my group that the Lib Dems will try and set this up as some kind of stitch up. Anyone can. I told them that you would do that. They were your words. So anyone can still come here and ask these cabinet members about our procedures, about our policies and our services. It doesn't stop them doing that at all. It's nonsense what you're talking about. We've got every sympathy about the duty of care, and we're exploring it. We need to pass this policy now and make sure that that situation doesn't arise again.
Thank you, Councillor Jewell. Quiet, please. Thank you. Right, can we now vote on this amendment, please? So we're voting on the amendment. I'll make that clear. All those in favour, please show. You okay with that, Karen? Anyone against? Any abstentions? The amendment falls. Thank you. Are there any other amendments? No. So we're now back to the original motion. So can we now vote on the original motion, please? Do you want to come back on the original, Councillor Robinson, before we go to the vote?
These changes today are to make the council more efficient and also to keep the business of this council to what it should be, which is the business of this council and not political silliness, if you like. And, you know, that question was from a Labour Party member, and we've had others from Labour Party members. We've had questions from opposition, who we might consider opposition. But that function is being used highly politically when they should be coming here and asking cabinet members about our policies and functions and services, and that's not been happening recently, and that's what we need to get back to.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. We're now voting on the original report with the alteration, just to make that clear. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Yeah. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Item 14 is a report on a request to establish an ad hoc task and finish group. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
Happy to move it, Chair.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Brown, thank you very much. Are there any amendments? Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No. Thank you. So can we go to the vote, please? All those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous, but I'll just go through. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, that's carried. Thank you. Item 15 is the appointment of an independent audit committee member. Councillor Rawlinson, will you be moving this report, please?
At a previous meeting, we agreed the procedure to make this happen. This is the actual appointment. Where the process has been gone through. We found someone to do that job, so I hope we can all support this appointment.
Thank you. Is that seconded, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. Sorry, sorry, that's fine, sorry. Are there any amendments to this? Anybody wish to speak? Nope. Can we now vote on this item, please? All those in favour? Thank you. It looks unanimous. Anyone against? Just to make sure. Any abstentions? No, that's carried. Thank you. Item 16 is notification of changes to membership of committees. Are there any changes to be reported? Councillor Brown.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, thank you. We do have a few. So, Guild Committee, Councillor Varty will replace Councillor Atkins. Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Khan will replace Councillor Atkins. Taxi Miscellaneous Committee, Councillor Wise will replace Councillor Atkins, and Councillor Atkins will become a substitute on the committee, and the Vice Chair of Standards Committee, this is to be Councillor Siraj Nathan. So we just have those changes, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything from any of the other two groups? No, thank you very much. Item 17 is the Standards Committee Annual Report for 24-25. Councillor Atkins, do you wish to speak on the report, which is for noting only?
So long since I've done this, I don't know how it works. Right, this is just for noting, Madam Mayor, as you said. But I'd like to answer a couple of things that I've been asked over the last 12 months. And I'd like to thank the officer and the members of the committee and the parish councillors and the independent members as well for the report. I forgot about that. Thank you. People have asked what's the point of the Standards Committee, and is it any use, and is it too expensive? And the reason for asking this has been this time that nobody has been found guilty of any offences. None of the complaints have been upheld because they didn't breach the council code of conduct. And also that we have no sanctions anyway as a committee. So I have been looking, I think that I would like to try and justify the committee. I think the justification is within the code of conduct for members, the general principles, and there are two terms that I think are most significant. And one is accountability and the other is openness. And I'll just briefly run through these two, and I will be very brief. Accountability, it says members should be accountable to the public, which is quite prescient, isn't it, at the moment, for their actions and the manner in which they carry out their responsibilities, and should cooperate fully and honestly with any scrutiny appropriate to their particular office. And under openness, it says members should be as open as possible about their actions and those of their authority, and should be prepared to give reasons for those actions. And I think that those 2 points justify the existence of the Standards Committee in any council, particularly in this one. I think they also go some way tangentially to the last subject we've been just discussing about questions from members of the public, but I'm not about to jump into that mess. No, had enough of that. So really, I would just like to say, yeah, I think those 2 principles say it all. And I'm happy to say that I definitely think that any authority worth its salt should be able to withstand questioning and justify their policies, which if you think you're making policies to the benefit of the whole constituency, then you should have no problems. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atkins. It is for noting, but can I have you just to show that we note it by raising your hands, please? Thank you. Oh yeah, where do you wish to speak? Oh right, sorry, I didn't see. Yes, of course you are. Councillor Van Mierlo.
Thank you. I just wanted to, when I went through the complaints, I noticed that there were quite a lot of complaints following comments on social media, particularly on what was Twitter, but that's now X. As a registered nurse, our code of conduct, we could be disciplined on anything within our work life and private life. So I think it matters what you put on social media in your private life as well. I think you made the comment that we can't control what other people say, but we can control what we say and how we respond to it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Councillor Van Mierlo. Karen, sorry. The monitoring officer wishes to comment to speak on this one. Thank you.
No, we have obviously the code of conduct for members
Yes.
here applies to them in their professional capacity. It doesn't apply to their home lives.
Yeah.
I know, I understand that, but I think it does matter what you say privately as well. And that's a point I'd like to just reiterate, that it's not just. I understand that some of those complaints weren't upheld because somebody had posted them under their own name and not as councillor. And I think that's, yeah, maybe weak. And I'm old enough to be brought up that if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So it's just really that what changes of behaviour can be undertaken to avoid offence being taken on social media?
As I say, it's not really within the remit of this council because the code applies nationally and it doesn't apply into members' private lives. So that would have to be something that would have to be the subject of legislation.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, can I just clarify as well, we're not meant to have questions or on this part, it's for noting only. Okay, question, if you wanted to ask a question on this item, it should have been earlier. Thank you. Sorry, I'm only acting on advice. Thank you. So can we move now just to say that we note this report by the show of hands, please? Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. That's noted. Thank you. The next item is the Audit Committee Annual Report for 24-25. Councillor Darby, do you wish to speak on this report, which is for noting only? Thank you.
Just ever so briefly, Madam Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to thank the other members of the committee for their work over the last year. I want to thank the officers from across the council and from their departments who have come in over the year to give their reports and updates to the committee. And I want to give a very particular thanks to the officers involved in the committee, especially Jackie and Kate for all their hard work over the year. It's very much appreciated. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Darby. As with the previous item, this is only for noting, but can we show that we note this report by the show of hands? Thank you. Brilliant. That report is noted. Thank you. Item 19 is the Leaders' Report. Councillor Brown, do you wish to speak on this report, which is for noting only?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor, just for noting.
Thank you. Again, then, can we have a show of hands to say that we note this report? Thank you. That's noted. Item 20 is special urgency decisions. However, there are none to report to this meeting. And item 21 is the date of next meeting, which is on Thursday, the 23rd of October, 2025 at 2 p.m. here in the Town Hall. And we'll need our jumpers on because it'll be nearly Christmas. Item 22 is the exclusion of the press and public. So we now need to consider passing the following resolution. That the public be excluded from this meeting during consideration of the following items of business on the grounds that there is likely to be disclosure of exempt information, which is described in the paragraphs of Schedule 12A to Local Government Act 1972, which is specified against the heading to each item. And that in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing it. Are you all happy to agree the exemption and move to Part B? Show of hands, please. Thank you. That's